Realtree's Midwest Whitetail is brought to you by Hoyt, Heumann Tree Saws, Lone Wolf Tree Stands, Nikon, Ozonics, Redneck Blinds, RTP Outdoors, Spot Hog Releases, Wasp Archery, Viking Solutions, and Realtree.
Alright guys, November 4th, we're back in that area. I've been hunting crabs. We're just on the east end of that food plot we've been hunting. A couple days ago we hunted in a little draw right down there. But we're going to show you this setup. We want to show you on an aerial, and then we'll come back to it and you can see what it looks like when you're here, all these different crossings and roads and stuff we've got. So we'll show you that right now, and we'll be back with you in just a second.
Alright guys, if you've been watching my video blog at all, a couple weeks ago, I asked if you guys just want to see deer, or would you like to see some of the setups and some of the informational stuff that goes in it. And 100% of the responses, you guys like to see informational stuff. So I'm going to go over one of my setups here. This is down where we hunt that crabs buck. I was just going to show you some things about that setup that we did. They're maybe a little bit different what you're used to seeing. Basically what we have is a transition area between two bedding areas. It's a little bit of a unique spot because it's between two bedding areas and it's also between two feeding areas. And so this spot right here, if you looked at it on an aerial, I mean, it looks great. You've got tree line coming down here, tree line here, drainage. So this is a spot you would pick up on an aerial pretty easily. We've got this loaded up with food, and so what we're trying to get them to do is, as they feed out of these bedding areas into this food source, we're trying to get them to move through this gap right here. And Drake was down this summer and he filmed some of this, but we've got a mowed path I created right here. We just opened up this road right here with a dozer, and then I just keep mowing that all year long to get them to use it. And then we did the same thing right here. We've got a fence that comes down, and I opened that fence right here to get them to use this spot right here. We've got a redneck blind and a tree stand both right here. But this is all, it doesn't look like it on the aerial, but this is actually pretty thick with grass and cedars up through here. It's actually a little better bedding area than what you would guess on the aerial map. So you get all kinds of movement coming back and forth during the rut. Back and forth, bedding area to bedding area. And then same thing in the evenings. You've got, this is a feeding area, and then we load this up with food too, so we're trying to get them to check the different food sources back and forth. And you'll be able to watch when we set this spot and see if that's working for us. We'll see them cruising back and forth. I mean, sometimes they're just going to feed around or whatever, but the bucks, when they're cruising, they use this a lot. So it's definitely a good spot. Another thing that I did is once in a while they'll feed out on this side of the drainage. So I took a dozer in and I made a crossing right here. So I'm just trying to get them to come into the food plot on this side so they don't get downwind, because we're hunting this on like a northwest. You can hunt it on northwest. But anyway, we're taking our wind across this open field here. Now let's talk about access. We've got a couple different ways that we access this. If we're going to hunt it on more of a west-northwest, or even this stand right here, we've got another one here. This ravine is all cleared out. We can walk this waterway all the way down, and you'll see a lot of my stand sites are right on the edge of the creek or the waterway, and a lot of them aren't creeks, they're just washouts. But it's nice because you just pop out of that right up into your tree, and then to get out of there you can do the same thing. So on a west wind or whatever, we pop down into this, we can walk it all the way down and pop up into here, very minimal disturbance, and get out of there. But that's what I would normally do on a morning. In the evening, what I'm going to tell you about now, you probably don't do or you haven't seen a whole lot. So I've been doing this for about, I don't know, maybe 15 years since all the scent elimination stuff came out. And I'll mow a trail right down past my tree stand. In this case, I've got one that comes down through here, one that comes down through here, and also another one that comes down this west side that's just off in that ravine right there to access this stand. What I'll do is I will just spray my boots down real heavy, like, to the point where it looks like you just stuck them in a 5-gallon bucket. They're saturated. And by keeping these trails mowed real short, we've been getting away with this for years. Before the scent elimination stuff, you'd always devise a strategy about coming around from the back where they wouldn't cut your trail. When you spray down real well and you keep the grass short, they just don't pick up on that scent. You got to remember though, when you mow a trail, you've got to keep that on the upwind side because the deer are going to use it like crazy. But you can turn that around and use it to your advantage. Just, bring it right by your stand 15 yards and you make that just one more highway that they want to use. I mean, they use them year round and I keep them mowed all summer. And I'll come right down, pop into my stand like in an evening, and they cut my trail all the time, and they never pick up on me. Like I said, I've been doing that for years. And then to get out of here, if you've got deer feeding all around in here, you can just come down, jump in that waterway, take it right out this way if you want. If there's nothing in the field, you could go back up the tree line, the mowed path, but typically I'll jump in the waterway to get out. If it was in the morning, I'd probably do the opposite. I'd come down the ravine, pop up in the tree stand. After the hunt's over, if your coast is clear, then I'd just run out that tree line. And this is all standing corn also, so I leave this standing corn on both sides just to further hide you coming in. So that's just one setup we've got right there, and we'll keep trying to dive into some more of these different setups. This is one that I'll hunt basically all year long. I've got some stands that I'll hunt rut only, some that are early season, some are just late season, but I'll show you some of these rut only stands as we go too. They're basically just stands that are way back in the timber. The access isn't great, but it's the old risk versus reward that you heard Bill talk about a couple weeks ago. It's such a good spot that the reward is so high, kind of minimizes the risk, and you're only going to hunt it probably 1 or 2 times all year anyway. So I'll show you some of those stands coming up.
Now this tree here, this is the one I've hunted by myself quite a few times, and I've never gotten picked off in it, but I haven't hunted it with 2 guys and a camera, so it's a little light on cover, but we do have some nice big limbs helping break up our outline here, so it's a heck of a setup. Everything comes together right here. Like I said, we've got this road right here that we made. I keep that mowed year round, and that Crabs buck, he's walked that probably few 100 times. We got all kinds of trail pictures to him right there. And then over here's where we talked about that dozer trail that I made. You can see a well-used trail coming across that. And then over on that side's the tree line with the open fence gap that goes right by the redneck blind there. Late October last year, we filmed that Crabs buck just right here. He was out here for probably an hour or so. We're hoping for a repeat tonight. We'll sit in here a couple hours and see how it goes. Looks like he's on that doe pretty hard. Broke off, didn't it? Double G3, like 20 inches. Was it really? Well, we played our cards right. I figured it was a matter of time till he was in here. Sure enough, we had him right here. I don't know, maybe that's probably 70 yards out, but what a gigantic buck. So fortunate to even be able to see a deer that size. Yeah, the only downside is he broke like 20 inches off. I can't believe any buck in here would tangle with him, but he had a great big wishbone G3, 10 or 12 inch tines off both sides of it, and the whole thing's gone. Which I don't know when he did that, but last pictures I had, he had all of his tines, so. But he's in here on that doe, either she's in estrus or just coming in or something, but He'll be right here. He ain't going anywhere, trust me. If he is going somewhere, it'll be home with me. This chicken butt couldn't get out of there quick enough. Well, it's just winding down for the night here, guys. We got just 5 or 10 minutes left, but man, anytime you see a deer of that caliber, that's unbelievable. I won't sleep well tonight. We'll check the wind direction, and I don't know if we'll come back here in the morning or just maybe hunt tomorrow afternoon down here, but if we don't hunt this crabs buck, we'll be after Uno, so check back with us tomorrow.